It's Thursday and time for Worldview with Denis Campbell. Denis is editor-in-chief of UK Progressive magazine. Denis, we've been following this story really for a while now of Julian Assange, Wikileaks founder, who has been charged with a number of different crimes relating to sexual assault and women, basically, charges from a number of different women. He's been in the UK. We heard last week or maybe the week before that he was looking for political asylum from Ecuador, and today we both got news about that request for political asylum as well as what the UK response will be. So get us up to speed.
Well, Assange is of Australian descent, although he's lived all over the world in parts of Africa and parts of Europe for a number of years, and he is the founder of Wikileaks. He was on holiday several years back and was charged with the sexual assault of two women in Sweden. That led to charges being brought in court in Sweden. And when he was here in the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom and Sweden are both members of the European Union, he was placed under arrest by British authorities and then subject to the Extradition Act, which is something that all countries have been a party to for a number of years here in the European Union. While he was fighting extradition, he was first under arrest. I think he spent 10 days or so in prison. Then he was under virtual house arrest with one of his benefactors here. What happened was, at the end of May, he lost all of his cases and his appeals. So extradition was then set, and as we do very properly here in the United Kingdom, for a 10-day period between the 28th of June and the 7th of July. So, of course, on the 19th of June, Assange walked into the Ecuadorian embassy and asked for asylum. He basically reported there. And there he has sat for almost a month. And what he's done during that course is attempt to apply for asylum to Ecuador. Well, what happened today was that President Correa of Ecuador turned around and granted that asylum request. And the foreign minister in Quito found in his favor that it was very reasonable for Assange, because the claims he was making was that he felt his life would be under threat of extradition, not just to Sweden, but once he was in Swedish authority custody, that he would also then be pursued by the USA, and that somehow a secret deal had been made to extradite him back for charges related specifically to Wikileaks and had nothing to do with the case for which he was being extradited to Sweden.
All right, Leonard, let's stop there for a second. Question on that. Is that even that idea that he thought may have been in the works? Would there be any legal precedent or legal structure that would allow for something like that?
Well, I mean, this is the reason that when he made his application to the government in Ecuador, they granted the asylum request. I mean, that was the way in which it was framed. The man genuinely feared for his life. We've seen how the Bradley Manning case has been prosecuted. We've seen the conditions under which Manning has lived. Many have theorized that, once the U.S. government got its hand on someone like Assange, he'd be headed to Guantanamo Bay or a cell right next to Bradley Manning, and that they would, and the kind of treatment that has been reported and at great length that has happened to Bradley Manning is simply not tolerated here in the European Union. So the Ecuadorian government agreed that he might be subject to that, so therefore they granted him asylum. The problem is though there is still now an arrest warrant out for him here in the United Kingdom. So if he steps foot outside of the embassy, the normal diplomatic exclusions and protections would not apply, because he is being held as a criminal, or was being held as a criminal, and was expected to be sent away under the Extradition Act. And literally just before you and I started talking, there was a press conference with William Hague, the foreign minister, saying there is absolutely no way the United Kingdom will allow him to leave.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So physically now he's at the Ecuadorian embassy in the United Kingdom. Presumably to leave, he would need to get to the airport, and that would involve leaving the embassy. And then what? At any point during that time, even the vehicle that he's in could be pulled over. He could be arrested. That's it. But legally, is that how it works? Could they just, based on the knowledge that he's in a particular vehicle, stop that vehicle and take him in? How would that work?
Well, this is where the real money issue hits the road. We've got a situation where there are two treaties now that are sort of competing with each other. What Assange and Ecuador will say is that under the Geneva Convention and the treaty that allows for diplomatic community. Obviously, people were talking earlier today saying that the Brits were going to storm the Ecuadorian embassy and somehow forcibly remove him.
Wow.
Basically, Hague said, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. But we're now in a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff, waiting to see who will blink first. Sweden has called the Ecuadorian embassy ambassador, in for discussions. That's a moment where two governments basically express their displeasure with each other. So there's that layer of this, as well as now what happens on the criminal side, because Sweden is indeed an ally of the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom is sort of stuck in between having to deal with two treaties. They have to uphold the law of the extradition treaty, which all EU members work with, and they do have to, forcibly, if necessary, once he has left sovereign soil of the embassy, fulfill that obligation. And that's what they've pledged basically to do today. The moment he steps out of that embassy, he no longer has any diplomatic privileges, regardless of what the Ecuadorian government has done today to say, yes, we will give him asylum in our country. Is he got to get there?
I wonder.
For him to get there.
I wonder if this is going to end up with a logistical or diplomatic solution. In other words, will it come down to, can they get a helicopter to pick him up at the Ecuadorian embassy? I have no idea whether they have a helipad, or will it really come down to some kind of diplomatic solution? What's it looking like? I mean, this is an incredible situation.
Well, it's only a few hours old here, but it's still breaking news as we sit here and talk. I tend to think there will be some sort of a diplomatic solution worked out, but I don't see how Britain gets themselves out of being in the middle of this one, because any solution that allows Assange to leave, I don't think is going to be tolerated. That puts a row now between the UK and Latin America, where, of course, we have the historical problems with Argentina. So you've got all kinds of issues that are brewing here. This has the potential to blow up and become a huge international incident, not to mention the fact, of course, that this man is also being sought by multiple governments around the globe for the crime of basically embarrassing the hell out of them by releasing all of these cables. So it's a story that we're going to continue to watch for quite some time.
Incredible stuff. We've been speaking with Denis Campbell, editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine. The book Egypt Unshackled is available, and also the Vagina Wars series. And now the latest book, which is almost done, is The Mormon Factor, is it not?
It's going to be called Magic Underwear in the Situation Room, and it's going to be asking the question, will the Christian right somehow reconcile itself, knowing that they consider Mormonism to be a cult, to vote for him, as well as the multiple lies that have been told and the history of really how he has grown up in that church without ever being seriously questioned. So going through all of that, as well as the racial undertones that you see. So it should be quite interesting to reconcile all of it. And it'll be the fourth book in the series. And what I'm going to finally do is take all four and put them together into an actual paperback book, because many people have asked me, they've said, I don't have a Kindle or an iPad or a reading device. I'd love to have it in paperback.
All right, that's going to do it for today. We'll talk to you next week, Denis. We'll also take a break and still be back with plenty more coming up today.